Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today, in this technically Tier 11 domination battle here on the Northern Waters map, we're going to be following Babsy 18 here in HMS Minotaur, divisioned up with Shinigami, in the French Tier 10 destroyer the Cassard, in what has to be one of, if not the hardest carries I have ever witnessed in a game of World of Warships. Babsy, of course, an HMS Minotaur. And it's a radar Minotaur again, not a smokescreen Minotaur, which is by far the most common configuration, although every time I introduce a radar Minotaur replay, I keep referring to it as that most rare and mythical of beasts, the radar Minotaur, but it seems like every Minotaur replay lately is a radar Minotaur. There's his division mate, Shinigami, in the Cassard. He's having problems loading in, so effectively AFK at the moment. And ironically, this match is going to be suffering from a severe case of AFK destroyers, but it's not going to be Shinigami in the Cassard. He's eventually going to load in and is going to prove to be a reliable teammate. One of the other destroyers on the team, however, yes, not so much. One of the other destroyers on the team, the Tier 9 French destroyer, the Orage, one of the newer French destroyers, he's going to be playing for the first about 5 minutes of the battle, and then he's just going to retreat to the back of the map and basically give up. No idea why. Doesn't really matter why. Maybe he had a perfectly legitimate reason for just abandoning the match after 5 minutes. Don't really care. What's important is that he is going to abandon the match after 5 minutes. And it's not going to make life any easier for Babsy here. So let's just take a quick look at the matchmaking, which isn't terrible, but it's also not ideal, as Babsy heads north to the cap circle at Charlie and then realises that he's going up there alone and yeah, not a great idea, so he's playing it cautiously, at least for the first few minutes of this match. So, as far as the matchmaking is concerned, for a light cruiser like the Minotaur, especially a light cruiser like the Minotaur that doesn't actually have a smokescreen in this battle, taking the radar consumable instead, it would be wise to be cautious, given the number and types of battleships available on the enemy team. For a start, both teams have an aircraft carrier, which, again, not ideal, but nothing you can do about that. But both teams also have 4 battleships, and they're, well, 2 Tier 11 super battleships. The enemy team have a Satsuma and a Devastation, neither of which are good news for a light cruiser player. But the other 2 regular Tier 10s are not much fun either. The enemy team have a Yamato and a Libertad. The enemy team cruiser threat is a little bit more of a mixed bag. I mean, you have to pay ships like the Salem, the Colbert, the Jinan, and the Aguirre a healthy amount of respect, but unless they catch him broadside and they've got armor piercing loaded, they're unlikely to be able to delete him in one salvo. Enemy Libertad just spotted up to the north, and given the almost 100% complete lack of support that Babsy is currently enjoying from his teammates over here, he was wise not to try to push that cap circle at Charlie, which is being flipped by somebody on the enemy team. Of course, the second he opens up, because he's the only one over here able to shoot at anything, he's instantly spotted and targeted. Takes a small amount of damage. Hey, look, on the bright side, at least it activated his adrenaline rush skill. It looks like Shinigami has only just loaded into the game and is now moving up to the north to give him a little bit of backup in the Cassard. The only other backup that he has here is the friendly Conqueror. But given that all 4 of the enemy battleships are in a position to shoot at him, as is the enemy Colbert over there, and there must be an enemy destroyer around here as well, because somebody's flipping that cap circle at Charlie, and it's not the Colbert. So discretion is definitely going to be the better part of valor here. Be interesting to see exactly what Shinigami and the Cassard can do here. I suspect not an awful lot, because the Cassard is not the stealthiest of destroyers, and the enemy aircraft carrier, the Richthofen, is also active on this side of the map. He's just popped some spotter planes down over there, so it looks like Shinigami and the Cassard is also very effectively being cock-blocked over here. And of course, Babsy is now air-spotted, so yeah, not great. So while things are not great over here at Cap Circle Charlie, which the enemy has managed to successfully flip, and well, I mean, of course they have. Look at the amount of enemy ships up there, and look what's facing them. So while this is obviously not good news, because it means the enemy team have been able to take Cap Circle Charlie virtually unopposed, that should mean that there's good news for the rest of Babsy's team elsewhere, and at the central cap at Bravo there is some good news. The friendly USS Black has managed to flip that cap. Over at the cap circle at Alpha, however, where the entirety of the remainder of Babsy's team are, opposed by only 3 enemy ships, you'd think that with the at least 3-to-1 numerical advantage that they have over the enemy Aegir, Salem, and Devastation, that with that 3-to-1 numbers advantage, they'd be rolling through that cap circle at Alpha like a hot dose of salts. You'd think that, because that's exactly what they should be doing, and then rolling around to the north and catching the rest of the enemy team in a crossfire, but it is in fact the exact opposite of what they're all doing. Enemy Shimakaze spotted there. He's smoked up. Unfortunately, he is out of radar range. The black's firing up his radar, but it's not going to last an awful lot of time. Don't know if it's going to be enough. There goes the Orage, by the way. He did attempt to take that cap circle at Alpha, but that didn't work. Due to, well, exactly the same lack of... Well, not exactly the same lack of backup that Babsy was suffering over at Charlie, because there was no backup for Babsy at Charlie. There was all the backup in the world for the Orage, and it completely failed. Oh, the Shimakaze's gone down. Good start. Don't worry, things aren't going to get any better from here. But the Orage has now decided, screw that, and he's headed south, and he has now gone AFK, and will remain AFK for the rest of the battle. He's just given up in disgust. Or at least that's my guess. Either way, he has definitely given up. Oh, the enemy team have just equalised. They've taken out the USS Black. Speaking of disgust, as Babsy starts getting a little bit disgusted with the Satsuma here, and it's kind of understandable. You notice the Satsuma's lost half of his health already, and it wasn't at the hands of the Aegir, the Devastation, or the Salem to the north, because he's been hiding from them behind that island this entire battle, as has most of the rest of the team. The thing is, hiding behind this island was keeping them safe. Not that they needed to be kept safe from a bunch of ships at the outnumbered 3-to-1, but it has been keeping them safe from those ships up to the north. But they've been getting spanked across the map in a rapidly developing crossfire from everybody else, because they wouldn't push around this corner and actually take on those enemy ships. The friendly Shikishima over there looks like he's up for it, but he's going to need support. I mean, he's not just charging straight up there, he's taking cover behind that island. Meanwhile, Babsy is moving around to this side of the island, precisely because it offers protection from the entire rest of the enemy team over there, and allows him to get up here and actually do something. Not least of which, getting into this cap circle. Meanwhile, Shinigami in the Cassard is currently central on the map, and he's basically been falling back and fighting a sort of delay in action against what looks like most of the rest of the enemy team, who have done over on the east exactly what Babsy's team should by now have been able to do over here on the west. Sweep around and catch the team in a crossfire. Babsy is flipping the cap here, but he is spotted and he's being targeted, so it's likely he's going to get reset. But, in fact, he has been reset. But the opportunity to get a kill here on the Salem is just too good to pass up. And it is in fact the Shikishima that he moved up here to support who claims the kill. He's still being targeted, but he can now push up to that island just up ahead and hopefully take this cap without any further problems. Except here comes the Richthofen's torpedo bombers. Oh no. Yeah, he's probably going to get reset again. Or if he doesn't, the Shikishima who's here in the... Well, the Shikishima who was here in the cap circle with him. Yeah. Oh well. At least, unlike the majority of the rest of his team, the Shikishima tried. Meanwhile, Shinigami and the Cassard has managed to pull back a kill. They're actually one kill ahead. Although, given the terrible state of the caps, yeah, that's not reflected in the points. He's hydroed at the moment, so he's within 6 kilometres, I mean, obviously, of the Aegir over there, who is the one running the hydro. He's managed to dodge those torpedoes. He's still being targeted, but he's managed to move up so close to these islands now that nobody can effectively shoot at him, which means he should be able to take this cap. The Zhao kills the enemy Mogador, who was the only one in a position to actually shoot at and reset him. He's almost got it. Nobody else is actually... I mean, he's being targeted, but not by any of the guys that he's shooting at, who actually have the opportunity to reset him, and there it goes, he's got the cap. Unfortunately, the team have lost the Zhao. They're still about 150 points behind, and here comes the Richthofen again, and he is now getting shot at. Well, there's the crossfire I was talking about. He's got his hydro up again, so now he's baiting out the Aegir's torpedoes. Unfortunately, the Devastation is still very much alive and very much intact, and oh, this isn't good. There's the Aegir's torpedoes, successfully baited. The problem here is that as a light cruiser, in particular a British light cruiser, the Minotaur has terrible armour. and the Devastation's guns are easily capable, if it's firing armor piercing, of citadeling him right through the bows and wiping him from existence with a single salvo. However, the Devastation is basically committing every sin in the book. He's not only given a flat broadside to shoot at. Hang on a minute. Where are those torpedoes coming from? Yeah, the Devastation's firing high explosive. Ah, there's the Jaeger. The Jaeger, however, well, nobody expects a radar Minotaur, do they? He probably thought, this is fine, I'm outside of detection range. Yeah, but you're not outside of radar range. And when he should have zipped in behind that island, where it wouldn't matter if he was radared because nobody was going to be able to hit him, he zigged when he should have zagged, which means he's done. He's gotten the torpedoes away from the other side, but with the Hydro running, they're not coming as a surprise to anybody. The presence of a radar Minotaur, however, was definitely a surprise to the Jaeger, and the Devastation is still firing high explosive. And he's still giving a nice big flat juicy please citadel me broadside to the Conqueror, the Maine, and the Satsuma down to the south, who are doing absolutely nothing about it. I mean, this is the calibre of opposition that kept 2/3 of Babsy's team cock-blocked for the entire battle this far. I mean, the Devastation is doing everything wrong, and nobody's taking advantage of it. And he's still firing high explosive. I mean, the high explosive hurt Babsy because he's a light cruiser, and it's large caliber high explosive. But it didn't kill him, which is what would have happened if the Devastation had been firing armor piercing. I mean, you know what they say, never interrupt the enemy when they're making a mistake. But the problem here is that nobody's punishing the enemy for making these mistakes. What are you going to do? Well, on the off chance that the Devastation has decided that actually maybe armor piercing would be better against a light cruiser, Babsy's not risking sticking his nose out. He's going to at least wait until Hydra's off cooldown so he knows exactly where the Aegir is. In the meantime, there's an opportunity to do a bit of damage over here. The Yamato is sailing on a course that's going to keep him on this side of the island up ahead. As long as he doesn't turn his guns in this direction. And he is turning his guns in this direction. Oh crap, and here comes the Devastation. And he's loaded the armor piercing. Oof. Yeah, that hurt. Equally bad news, Shinigami and the Cassard has just gone down. The Devastation has finally wised up. And he's pushing in. And again, nobody's paying the slightest bit of attention other than Babsy. He gets the torpedoes away. Unfortunately, while he doesn't want to get shot by the Devastation, it's extremely likely that the Aegir over there just spotted those torpedoes, so they're not going to come as a surprise to anybody. And in fact, the Aegir's Hydro is probably ready to go again as well. In fact, he's so close to the Aegir now, they're both within 2 kilometres of each other, that they're proximity detected, so he doesn't even need to use the Hydro. Oh, this isn't good. Okay, the Devastation has definitely seen the torpedoes, which is unfortunate because the Minotaur's torpedoes are very good. You can probably expect around 10,000 damage per hit. Ooh, or more. That's a big hit. Looks like the Devastation's torpedo damage reduction isn't very good. And finally, somebody else on the team wakes up. I mean, it's a day late and $1 short. Looks like the Satsuma thought, oh look, it's a battleship, turning to give broadside. Maybe I should shoot at it. And, well, it did some damage. But it is Babsy who gets the kill. Right, we're now 3/4 of the way through the battle. He's still proximity detected because he's that close to the Aegir. But after 3/4 of the battle have elapsed, and the enemy team have just sunk their carrier, so not good. But after 3/4 of the battle have elapsed, Babsy's team, who outnumbered these guys by more than 3-1, now only have one of them left to deal with. There's an opportunity for a kill here on the Yamato. Not liking the look of that Libertad though. That is an extremely dangerous tier 10 battleship. Come on. Let's get some hits. Okay, nice. Okay, the Yamato's been taken down. It's now technically 4 against 3, but remember the Orage has been AFK since 5 minutes into the battle, so it is effectively 3 against 3. The Orage has basically been no use to the team alive, but he does at least have the excuse. It's not a particularly good excuse, but he does at least have the excuse of having been AFK for the last 10 minutes. The rest of Babsy's team have no such excuse and have been equally ineffective. Babsy's going to want to deal with this Aegir. He's got his Hydro up, so he at least knows where the Aegir is, even if the Aegir doesn't know precisely where he is. Meanwhile, as he's jockeying for the advantage over the Aegir here, the Libertad has finished off the Satsuma with his secondaries. And some drama is developing down to the south, because the Libertad, while he was finishing off the Satsuma with his secondaries, was given a nice big, flat, juicy broadside to the Conqueror over there. But it's a Conqueror, so of course it was firing high explosive. Now, Conqueror high explosive isn't nothing, but while he did have the broadside of the Libertad to shoot at, armor piercing would almost certainly have killed him. Of course, the opportunity to citadel the Libertad is now gone, and the Conqueror is committed to firing high explosive, which now that the Libertad is bow on is actually the better option. And remember, Conqueror high explosive hurts. Thing is, the Libertad knows that. He knows that either the next high explosive salvo or the fires that it sets are going to kill him. So on about 435 hit points, he managed to successfully ram and sink a almost 50,000 hit point remaining Conqueror. So that was absolutely a win for the Libertad. Shouldn't have been, but it was. And it means that it's now 2-on-2 with the enemy carrier and the Aegir over there. Oh, actually, wait, no, it's 2-on-1, isn't it? The Araj is AFK, and he has been since the 5-minute point in the battle. So it's actually 2-on-1. And here comes the Aegir, and he's definitely got his Hydro going, so there's no way he's going to get caught out by these torpedoes. So it's Babsy and the Minotaur on 1/3 health against a heavy cruiser with Hydro and an aircraft carrier, and he's a radar Minotaur, so he doesn't have a smoke screen to hide in, even if he can get to more than 6 kilometers away from, and therefore out of Hydro range, of the Aegir. This is all kinds of bad news, because the Aegir isn't any heavy cruiser, and it does look like he's not going to get suckered by the second set of torpedoes either, which means his Hydro is almost certainly running. But, like I said, the Aegir isn't any heavy cruiser. It actually has 305mm guns, and that's incredibly bad news for a British light cruiser, which only has 16mm of bow and stern armour plating, which can be overmatched by 305mm guns. So, as far as Babsy's concerned, the Aegir may as well be a battleship, because as far as the armour overmatch mechanics are concerned, it's all the same to the Aegir when he's shooting at a 16mm armoured British light cruiser, and he is, of course, firing armour piercing. Because the evidence, including the fact that that guy has managed, with just a Salem and a Devastation for assistance, to successfully hold off pretty much the entirety of Babsy's team, means he's almost certainly not a blithering idiot. He is, however, getting very, very unlucky with his shots. The other thing that he's getting, as evidenced by the fact that he's actually now switched to high explosive, is very, very frustrated, and rightfully so. He probably should have won this. But it looks like that honour is going to Babsy. He just needs to kill him before the Aegir can reload, and he's got him. It's now 1-on-1. The bad news is, it's an enemy aircraft carrier, and Babsy's taken so much damage, he probably doesn't have any AA guns left. But he just needs to stay alive for a few more seconds. He's stuck on the map border though. Oh, this isn't good. That's going to slow him down, of course. And speed manoeuvrability is exactly what you need when a Richthofen's torpedo bombers are coming in. Come on, 6 more points. Just don't get hit. Don't get hit. He's done it. He got hit anyway, but it was too late. He reached 1,000 points. Holy crap, what a carry. You know, and I hate to say this, but I think it might be true. Despite Babsy's Herculean carry there, that was more than 3,000 base XP, finished far ahead at the top of the team. Even if the Richthofen had finished him at the end there before he reached 1,000 points, the team would probably still have won, because the Araj was still alive. That game would probably have still been won by the guy who only earned 65 experience for that battle because he quit so early on. He would have still been alive, and it's unlikely the Richthofen could have found him and sunk him before the team reached 1,000 points again anyway. So you could make the point, and you would probably be correct, that despite, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen somebody only earn 65 experience in a game of World of Warships, regardless of the tier at which you're playing. But you could make the point that the Araj was actually of some use to the team alive, or at least he would have been, if Babsy hadn't managed to pull off that carry. But he did. He was rewarded appropriately, more than 3,000 base experience. Commiserations, of course, to nearly half of the enemy team, who got more than 1,000 base XP on a defeat. But honestly, if Babsy hadn't won that, I think we can probably all agree that justice was done today. And I hope you all enjoyed watching him achieve it, because that's it. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.